the business people, the data owners, they have responsibility on a day-to-day basis to own the data, secure the data, and share the data with the right data consumers for doing analytics and gaining insights, right? But they're not security experts.
People want to feel that that they're trusting their data to this company, and that is not going to happen anything. We have seen in this year and many other years issues that happen with AT&T or with all these other telco companies that somehow have been experiencing breaches in their data.
So that's really all of the zero trust is all about, making sure that you're not just trusting the users by just looking at their user identity, but also you're using additional contextual information.
And how should companies should balance their securing their data with still staying compliant by, well, they want to do business and be more accessible.
The AI systems right now, we need to like adopt, all of us, right, as leaders, perhaps start building LLM models, right, to start building out AI security. So many times I see, just companies label their AI, they take existing products and then they label AI, right? That's not how we're going to defend the system, right?
Welcome to the Tech Foresight podcast, where we are bringing together the brightest minds, pioneering CEOs and visionaries to unearth the insights and strategies that will shape our future. I am Diana Daniels, a Mexican entrepreneur with roots in the US and Europe and working in telecommunications, blockchain, and digital inclusion. I will guide you through the world of telecom, technology, and beyond. Today, the decisions that we are creating are shaping tomorrow's reality, and we are here to explore just that. Our guest today is someone who is on the front lines of one of the most critical topics in the tech world, which is data security and the cloud era. Ganesh Kirti, he is the founder and CEO of TrustLogix, a cloud data security platform that is breaking down the silos between data owners and security owners, strengthening your data security posture with the centralized data security visibility. Ganesh was the co-founder and CTO of Falera, another cloud security company that was acquired recently by Oracle. And today, he is here to share with us the insights on how we can stay ahead in a world where data breaches and security threats are ever evolving. So Ganesh, thank you and welcome to the show.
Hi Diana, nice to meet you. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to it, and thanks for the background. I really appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's great to be with you, and looking forward to having this conversation.
Well, before we dive into the serious stuff, I would love to ask you, Ganesh, if you had to choose between never having coffee again or facing a full-scale cyber attack every Monday, what would it be?
Oh my God, that's the cyber attacks are something, it just given, you just got to learn to deal with it. You just got to be prepared for that. Um, I got to have coffee too, so we work with companies, and we see this, and I've been doing security for a long time, 20 years. That's my passion. Having been part of some data breaches, myself. It just comes down to, you just have to be prepared for it, and it's just a mindset, and you have to embrace what's happening in the world today, technology and everything that you need to adopt. But at the same time, you have to, be prepared for that. I'm looking forward to like drilling down a little bit, further into that. Yeah, but I've had my coffee. I'm all set. I'm all set for this discussion.
Let the cyber attacks to come because we're going to be ready for them. And what we know, though, is that cloud adoption is exploding across all industries. According to Gartner Group, by next year, about 95% of the new digital workloads will be deployed on cloud. So, and this is kind of like 30% more in a post-COVID era. So with this very rapid adoption, which is bringing this complexity, making security a top concern for business globally, what do you think that data security needs to evolve in this cloud-first world? What are the top challenges? What are the organizations facing today? What is your take on this?
Yeah, I know. So, as you said, the cloud adoption, right? So what we see is Many companies used to be cloud preferred in the past few years ago. Now what we are seeing is from the top down, from CIOs and top down, right? The companies would like to become cloud first companies, right? So over the next, 3 to 5 years, if companies are already not in the cloud, most of them are moving to cloud and move their hundreds and hundreds of their applications and databases that are running in the data centers. They're looking forward to move them into the cloud. So the cloud first is really the trend we see. That's one trend we are seeing. The second trend is the data modernization. At, the world, the on-prem, there was the databases, data analytics systems that were used successfully, but now what happened is in the cloud, the cloud infrastructure, data cloud providers like Databricks and Snowflake and other AWS like cloud providers, they are making it so easy to bring in huge amounts of data, petabytes of data, and then run analytics and run queries on millions and millions of records, data sets within microseconds with a low cost, with no infrastructure, right? That customers have to manage. So that's causing a lot of companies to move their workloads into cloud. So that data modernization. So when they're doing that, they're just not doing lift and shift from on-prem to cloud, but they're leveraging all these modern technologies in the cloud, data lakes and data warehouses, data analytics. With AI becoming, making it even more complex. So that's what we are seeing. The companies that we work with, financial companies, healthcare companies, including telecoms, they are moving, data workloads into the cloud, and there's a lot more things that they have to now, you know, be aware of, right? The way the data was used in the past was just a very simple, just you would run just SQL queries, you're
Mm,
done, right? That was a main usage pattern. You just had databases, you just had applications, you would
yeah.
run SQL queries and you're done, right? But the way the data used today is totally different. You've got
Yeah.
SQL queries, but there are so many ways you can access data. SQL, Spark SQL, analytics queries, Python applications, LLMs, bots, and ETLs, workflows, right? It is just very, very complicated now how the data is used, and the demand is growing for that, right? So that's the world we see. That's really the complexity that's coming in now. With AI coming in, the many companies are under pressure to do more with data, bring LLM applications. That's adding more complexity into the data world that's already has been going on for the last few years. So that's really where we come in. And let me stop there and see if that's problem statement
Yeah,
resonating so far.
because what I also seen is that most of the companies have these multi-cloud strategies. There's just that you are talking about. However, this securing the data across these multiple cloud environments creates these huge challenges that are inconsistent with the different security policies because you have fragmented control and you have complex compliance requirements. So shall companies should be focused on centralizing this data security and access control across all these multiple cloud environments, or how do you see this approach of changing the game for the organizations? Where do you think that this strategy is going to be headed in the next 3 to 5 years with the surging of AI?
Yeah, no, so the nature of this, right? The way the cloud works is, especially when it comes to security, it's a shared responsibility model. The cloud vendors, right? The cloud infrastructure providers, right? They do a very good job of securing and infrastructure, right? But at the end of the day, the customers are cloud consumers, right? They have responsibility when it comes to their data. They have to secure their data. It's a shared responsibility model. So that's one, right? So every company has to take that responsibility. Now, the second thing is there is the trend we see is on average, a typical enterprise uses more than 7 to 9 different data platforms in the cloud. So they use something for data lakes like AWS S3. They use something for data warehouse like Snowflake. They use something like Databricks for AI ML workloads. and they have Power BI, Tableau. So the data sprawl is happening across all these different platforms,
Mm.
right? And that's really required for business teams because that's how they become productive. Those tools are required for them to be productive. And the data sprawl is happening across all these environments. And there is no industry standard today. There is no reference architecture how to secure data in the cloud because every vendor has their own native proprietary model, how things get secured, right? How data is secured, they have permissions, you talked about fragmented security, right? That's really what's going on today. You have to understand, you have to be an expert in each one of these data platforms. So it's very complicated. And then on top of that, the trend we see is the business people, the data owners, they have responsibility on a day-to-day basis to own the data, secure the data, and share the data with the right data consumers for doing analytics and gaining insights, right? But they are not security experts, but they are
Mm.
still responsible to securing the data. They are good at data, databases, data analytics, right? So there is that skill set gap. And then the second part of it is the security people within the company, like the central CISO organization, who are not responsible for data, but they're accountable for managing the risk of the enterprise, right? They had to make sure that there is no risk, there is no compliance violations, privacy
Mm.
violations, risk to the data, right? But they are not data experts, but they are accountable from security perspective. So we see these two people trying to, address the, these business needs. But today they don't have tools. The tools that exist from the past 5, 6 years, the legacy tools, they are built for on-prem and different databases, different architectures. The modern compute architecture, the tools don't work. So there is a problem today that data people are not security experts, security people are not data experts, and the tools that they have don't work. They don't help them collaborate. So there is a really a chaotic situation is what we see on a day-to-day basis. And and then you have to embrace this. Businesses have to embrace, right? They have to still use the data. And a lack of a tool, what happens is they end up doing things that creates more risks to them. They end up either
Mm.
granting more data to people, or they end up not securing the data. They end up securing very coarse grain, where people have more access to data than they would need typically, or they would be entitled to need, right? So they create more blind spots. That's creating. So what we think that's required over the next few years, right, and is a methodical approach to streamline this chaotic situation that's going on the ground, right? Data sprawl is happening across multiple data platforms. The data consumers are looking to get access to the data on a continuous basis. And then the data owners and data security people, right? They want to get a control, but they want to enable businesses, but they don't have tools. They need that methodical way of
But this will change in the
securing.
next 3 to 5 years, right? What tools do you believe that is going to be around that maybe are not today, or maybe they are today, but they're not very widely used? How is this going to change in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so there has to be a real architecture that works for the modern compute platforms. The reason that data compute platforms are so successful, like Snowflakes and Databricks, that the separation of the storage and compute, that new architecture is what's allowing massively scale data analytics and data insights and LLMs and AI applications, right? So you need to have a security architecture that scales. So,
Mm.
you need to have an architecture that really integrates and works with these data platforms that scales massively. At the same time, the architecture should not create a friction for data workers and data consumers, right? So when I say data workers, I'm talking about not just the data scientists, data
Mm.
analysts, data engineers, but I'm also talking about AI, LLM bots, service accounts, and APIs, right? Whatever that happens to be the case to access data, right? I'm talking all of them combined called data workers, right? So the solution has to be such that it should not create a friction for data workers because they should be productive, they should do what they are doing, right? At the same time, you should apply the security so that they are able to access data faster and in a secure and compliant fashion. So there is a need for a different architecture that methodically secures data, that scales massively, also allows data access, much faster for data consumers to get access data. So that's really the architecturally you need to have different way to solve it. And we have been looking at solving that, we can talk about that a little bit more detail, but basically the point here is the existing tools have limitations. You need to have a modern architecture that works with these modern data platforms that centrally protects the data across multiple data platforms. So you need a platform, data security platform that can secure data centrally across all these data platforms so that the the data fragmentation that you talked about can be addressed from one central security governance perspective.
Listen, there's a lot of and I want to follow up on that term, because there's a lot of buzzword around zero trust. I guess that the zero trust is a big buzzword these days. you know um can you explain to our audience what zero trust security really means, and how do you think this concept will evolve into the future? What should companies be doing now to prepare for it in this situation?
Yeah, so the zero trust is really all about, the dynamic nature of how things are happening today, right? Like people are working, employees working from different locations, not just from the corporate networks and firewall VPNs, right? They are productive, however they are productive, right? Working from coffee stores, homes and, different locations. And then the cloud enables you to do that. So now, companies have to embrace that. They had to allow employees to be productive.
Mm.
Um, and then they had to give them access to the sensitive data, right? The business sensitive data, because that's really what their jobs require for them to look at the data and then process the data. So when you look at that situation, the zero trust is really all about, you're giving people access to data, but at the same time, you're enforcing the privilege access controls, right? Based on the users who are coming in and where they are coming in from. And then you are giving them access at the same time. While you're giving them access, you are assessing the risk associated with that access, right? That
Mm-hmm.
risk could be, where are these users coming from? Are they coming from a malicious location, malicious, network locations, right? Are they coming in from unauthorized, tools, right? Like the open source tools, many times people use it. um, you know, are they still the right users accessing this data, right? Are they no longer, like, they change their job, the project is removed now, right? So there is a lot of this dynamic entitlements that you're enforcing while the access is granted to these users, right? So that's really all of the zero trust is all about, making sure that you're not just trusting the users by just looking at their user identity, but also you're using additional contextual information, what they are trying to do, what's the location they are accessing it from,
Does it make
is
sense?
does it
Mm-hmm.
make sense, right? Is there a risk associated with that, right? You're enforcing additional contextual parameters to make sure that the access is, no risk, and then also there is a least privilege access is given to those users. So it's really the zero trust architecture is all about making sure that, users have access to the data continuously. At the same time, you're assessing the risk on a continuous basis.
And the reason I'm asking you this is because I read a report the other day that says that, like, more than 80% of the security leaders that are doing the decision making process of implementing new systems are thinking about doing everything rather than the zero trust environment. And obviously the way that we are working today, it's adding all this context. So I would love you to think about, like, how this is going to evolve in the next 5 years. We already spoke about, like, how the previous layer of security should look like into the 3 years. Let's going to think about that we are already in 2030, in 6 years from now, and how does this is going to look? What is that environment going to work for companies?
Yeah, look, the way to think about this, right? This is, as you said, this is changing, this is dynamic, right? you know, just in my mind, having coming from the architecture background in my past life, right, build security products, security architecture solutions that, you know, even today, thousands and thousands of companies use those technologies that we built in the past. Um, Having the right architecture, right platform is a good way to think about it. So you don't know what happens 6 months, 2 years from now, how data is going to be used, how many data platforms you're going to consume, right? You have to expect that things are going to change. There's more going to be more data. There's going to be more tools that are going to come in. More people are going to come look for access. You have to share data with your partners. Sharing is something that's very normal now in the cloud, right?
Yeah.
Data sharing, right? And then the data vendors make it so easy to share data. And this sharing data could be really sensitive data, right? So you have to predict that your access patterns, right? The data sharing patterns are also going to evolve. Your LLM applications are going to evolve. So having a platform that does two things in my mind will help, so that you can scale, you can adopt new data platforms. One is this platform should have two things. One thing it should have is really the auditability and monitoring capability. So what does that mean, right? So let's say we're talking about AI a lot nowadays, right? AI
Mm-hmm.
just brings in more problems. Of course, it helps businesses. But when someone turns on a co-pilot, for example, right?
Mm.
It suddenly you're opening up a lot of sensitive data sets to the co-pilot system, LLM system, right? It's accessing different data sets and you really don't know what it's doing, right? Having a auditing and monitoring solution that tells you what are all the databases, data sets are being used by the LLM and Copilot system, right? That helps a lot. That just getting that visibility, right, will help you understand potential risks, potential violations. So having a monitoring auditability capability is important. So that's one. The second capability that one must have in the platforms, in my mind, is you know how do you enforce this access controls, right? Like there is all kinds of technologies like role-based access controls, attribute-based access controls, entitlements, right? Having a technology that allows you to secure data with the least privileges, right? So I believe those two things, right, like monitoring and that securing the data, right? Having those two capabilities in a platform within your enterprise will help you out so that you as a data owner or a security owner, right, can embrace business teams, right? Whatever they want to do. If they want to use tomorrow, or they want to build their own custom LLMs, for example, right? And they want to use some data, right? Having these tools will help them to scale. Hell, they can tell the business, look, go have at it, go use the data, but I can still control it because I can manage it, I can monitor what's going on. I can also take an action if I see a risk through the monitoring capability, right? So having that platform that allows you to secure data on a continuous basis, and that scales would really help today. Having that monitoring, that platform will help companies today, right? That can scale 1, 2, 3 years from now, to leverage this data system. It's just given. I think the way we see this is going to be data sprawl is given, multi-cloud adoption is given to companies, right? And AI
Mm.
systems, LLMs are given. They have to go build, they have to enable Copilot. It's all given to them. They have to embrace it. Companies have to embrace. If they don't embrace it, they're going to just lose the advantage, businesses. So having a
And I guess
platform
that
that allows them to scale will definitely help. Sorry.
I guess that this is also one challenging thing for most of businesses, because at the end I've been in conversations, for instance, with telco companies. The biggest challenge that telco companies face today is to be a trusted company. People want to feel that that they're trusting their data to this company, and that is not going to happen anything. We have seen in this year and many other years issues that happen with AT&T or with all these other telco companies that somehow have been experiencing breaches in their data. And with the data privacy regulations like GDPR in Europe or CCPA in California that are reshaping how companies handle data, you know, more than 80%, like 8 out of 10 consumers they say that they won't do business with a company that they don't trust. So how do you see this future of data privacy and access, the ones that you're talking about, playing out? And how should companies should balance their securing their data with still staying compliant by, well, they want to do business and be more accessible?
Yeah. No, look, I think, the best way in my mind is these companies should find a partner, a vendor, right? It's just not a vendor, but who's a partner to them, who can trust the partner, who has this vendor partner, right? Who has that expertise, and they can work with these companies, right, as a partner, and build out their part of their journey, right? It's important that they find that partner, and then on top of that, right, as I talked about, having a platform that allows you to visibility what is going on with your system will help a lot. In most of the time, companies don't even know what is going on. And then also to the fact that AT&T, Ticketmaster, unfortunately, most of us got breached recently, right? Our data got breached because, the recent AT&T breach that has happened through the Snowflake, accounts, the customer Snowflake accounts got breached. Um,
Yeah.
and it's happened to happen, look, the LLMs also, right? I can't believe there won't be systems that are not going to be breached with LLMs, right?
Mm,
The prompts, right? If you look back, in the world of databases, there used to be something called SQL injection attacks, right? Buffer overflow attacks that used to happen with databases all the time, right?
mm,
Where you would create SQL queries that would make the database do things that are not supposed to happen in the database, right? Through the SQL queries maliciously you create the SQL queries that would allow you to get the data. Same thing is going to happen with the prompt engineering, right? In the LLMs, you can create a prompt, you can poison models, or you can create the prompts that you such a way that you will make the LLMs to give you the data that LLMs are not supposed to give you the data, right? So they're all going to happen. It's given, right? That's really the world we are living in.
scary. It's gonna happen. It's scary.
Right. So I think it's the companies have to be prepared for that. And at the same time, right, they have to manage the risk. They have to look at what type of data people are using within the companies that applications are using. They have to classify the data. They have to have a tool or a partner, right, that can help them take that classified data, right?
So if you need to have this partner, what are three things that you need to make sure that that partner should have to help in your company? What are like three undeniable characteristics that this partner should have in order for you to partner with that company?
So the first thing in my mind is, the partner should be an expert. Their team, right? They should be experts in the privacy, in the security, right? That's something they should look for. And and the partner should understand the business, right? This enterprise business. They should have that mindset of, look, we are in it as part of your journey. We are going to make it successful, right? So they have to have that partner has to have that mindset. Um, and then the partner has to have a vision where they are looking for a long-term, uh, vision, right? Where they are continuing to adopting the technology, continuing to enhancing their solutions, right? That helping their partner, um, the customers of the partner, right? They're helping them, giving them guidance and giving them a little bit of keeping them, step ahead, right? It's very important that the partner is really the key criteria in my mind, who has the expertise, who can work in the interest of their customers, um, and then they can move very fast. They're
Yeah,
agile, and they can, they have architecture, they have engineering that allows them to move fast, agile fashion, right?
I
Those are
love it.
some of the things I would
It's
look for.
experience, it's experience, team, and adaptability, basically, right? Like what you're looking for in a good partner. So and if we think about like what this is kind of the partner you need to choose. But then let's gonna think about like the future of work. The future of work is evolving. There's already a global shortage of there's magazines that they say that there are 3.4 million cybersecurity professionals that are needed in the market. So if many of our audience today, they're actually youngsters that are either finishing their schools or they're starting to think about like what do they want to do in the future, either to form a company or be entrepreneurs. What skills and roles do you think that they will be most in demand in the next decade, and how the future leaders can cultivate the next generation of cybersecurity experts?
Yeah, it's our responsibility, as a citizens, right? I think we need to care, what's happening to cybersecurity. There's always going to be a bad people doing things. It's like every company, right, has to take some responsibility and train, um, you know, whether it's internships, whether it's a different programs, right? They volunteer and then they help, train. And I believe that, it has to be core part of, every company, doing that educational part. And as far as the students and entrepreneurs, right? Like, young entrepreneurs, and I think, you know, they should just take a problem and then they should just go, find a mentor or find a company, right, that allows them to, experiment and then allows them to be part of the, their learning process, right? Um, I think they should just look for that. And there are a lot of, places now, students and, young graduates, right, can look for. And we do have, we have interns coming in every year, high school plus, college interns, always
What
open to
skills are
talk
you
to.
looking for in your team members to have?
So in general, we are a software development, cybersecurity, development company, and we just, most of the interns that we have, they've got some, programming background, in computer science background, and they have really interest in learning cybersecurity, um, and to just come in and then work with our, team here. So we do have that every year. We have, happy to talk to people, right? If anyone is interested, um, and then colleges also, right? Many universities, offer cybersecurity programs, so that's another one, to look at as well. There are certifications, these young people can go look at, learn from some of the skills. Um, and then just follow a couple of good cybersecurity experts, whether it's on the LinkedIn or whether it's anywhere else, right?
So,
Start listening to
you know,
them.
Ganesh, you are, the CEO of this leading company that is going through a rapid growth and innovation. What do you think that the future of leadership looks like, especially in your area in tech, where if we think, I was reading the other day a stunning number. I think that 70% of the transformations of digital transformations in companies are failing. So what are these traits or strategies that this new generation of leaders they need to have in order to succeed?
Yeah, look, I'm also learning, it's always been, learning, right? Always looking to, learn things that you don't know, or that you're always learning that things that you didn't know, or you're making mistakes, right? You know, just be conscious about, what is going on, right? And, be very focused, right? For me in general, I'm always, learning from others, other successful companies, adopting some of the, the patterns, uh, be very careful on not make similar mistakes. That's really, and then asking for help, right? Wherever we see, um, you know, advisors and mentors that we need help, asking for help. And then, pivoting as required and making decisions at the, time where you don't really delay. If you see some patterns, if you see things not working, right, make quick decisions, and then do those iterative fashion, right, continuous basis, is what I believe is really required, for any managers and any leaders. Especially for me, that's what I do, and always looking for, what is that we are not doing that we should be doing 6 months from now, right? And then we should do
Mm-hmm.
those things today, right? So always, heads down, but also at the same time looking at 6 months from now, what are we need to do, what are we not doing today, right? Having those milestones and then keeping an eye on those, right? Those are the simple things that we keep doing it. Now, as far as cybersecurity is concerned, it is really dynamic. It is evolving, you know, It is, you know, the AI systems right now. We need to like adopt, all of us, right, as leaders, perhaps start building LLM models, right, to start building out AI security. So many times I see, just companies label their AI, they take existing products and then they label AI, right? That's not how we're going to defend the system, right? You got
Mm,
to have, right, LLM models to that natural language centric approaches, right? That you should be
yeah.
using to build the security model. So I think some of those real core, um, patterns, right? Identifying those patterns and adopting those patterns and then pivoting, your solutions, your technology, your company, right, is really what it takes on a continuous basis doing that.
All right. Well, Ganesh, we are into this phase of the podcast that I love because we're going to do a quick fire round for you. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I need you to answer with the very first word or phrase that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Sure.
Let's go. The future of cybersecurity.
AI, AI security.
AI security. I like that. Okay. One word to describe the cloud.
Massive, massive adoption, massive technology, massive opportunity.
Love it. The most important skill for future tech employees.
Listen and learn.
Listen and learn. I like that. All right. What keeps you up at night?
Oh my God. You know, Helping our customers, protecting them, what do we need to do to protect them, right? And that's really, every day, get up and then that's really what we're looking at, just helping our customers. That's really
Like
what
that.
keeps us,
What it will be your best advice to any aspiring CEO in the cloud?
yeah, it's a great opportunity. It's a lot of problems that are not solved. For aspiring CEOs, they just jump in, take a problem, you know, understand the problem and then go have at it, right? Work very hard, focus on it, get the right team together. They just go solve it, and just mistakes happens, it's okay. But go have at it and continue to iterate on it. Future is bright. I really excited about it. And opportunities are huge, huge opportunities there. I wish I'm in a college right now studying and all the technologies and all the AI things that are happening. It's a good opportunity for young entrepreneurs and students coming out of colleges. It's a really, really exciting world.
Okay, the last one on this is one prediction for the world in 2030. It's only 5 years from now. 6 years, 5 years.
I believe that everything is going to be automated in 2030. There's going to be a lot of work that we are doing today. There's going to be a lot of new patterns that AI systems are going to develop. There is going to be a different user models that are going to evolve over the next 5 years with the AI systems. What used to be in the past is completely different. How people used to use tools, how people used to use systems in the 5 years ago is going to be totally different. There's no middleman is going to be there in 2030. The business people will continue to use their tools. They don't need technology. They don't need engineers in between helping them out. They're just going to be
Wow.
directly facing things.
I like that. I like that. Ganesh, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Your insights into the future of data security and leadership has been incredibly valuable. And I know our listeners will take away a lot from this conversation. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Dan. I really enjoyed it. Look forward to doing it again.
We have to. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Our listeners, thank you for tuning in into another episode of the Tech Foresight podcast, where we are deeping into what is going on in the future of telecom technology and beyond. Remember, the future is being shaped by us, by today's decisions. So let's make them count. I am Diana Daniels. I'll see you next episode at the Tech Foresight podcast. Stay innovative, stay curious, and stay secure. See you soon.